Hello and welcome to the Gamescast. We are here today doing another training video where Hamish teaches me how to fly planes. Now, as you can see, we have upgraded from the Cessna. It's a slightly more complicated plane.
It's a lot more complicated actually.
Yeah,
This one.
I'll let Hamish explain it because he knows far more about it than me.
Basically, what happened is, the reason why we've upgraded to this plane is one, it's a very nice plane,
Much better.
and I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a minute and where you can buy it and all that sort of stuff. And two, the LAN Steam did a client update or something like that. Anyway, it stopped LAN from working. It means me and Reith have been able to play online, but only on the multiplayer servers, which are like dedicated on FSX. So we kind of explored a few different things. Anyway, me and Reith seem to got really attached to this plane. I've been learning it quite a bit actually since I came home today, and I'd say I'm fairly familiar with all the major systems. Reith up until today knew pretty much exactly the same amount about this plane and how to operate as I did. So I'd say we have about 5 or so flight hours in this plane together. Reith maybe has an extra flight hour on his own, just doing various small VOR trips.
Yeah, I've only done stuff that I've learned because ILS, which is where the plane lands itself, or lines itself up at least,
is what we're going to learn today.
Is what we're learning today, and I do not know how to use it at all.
No.
And because the LAN hasn't been working, and we've only been able to play on online multiplayer, it wasn't really sort of it wouldn't really work sometimes. It'd be a bit glitchy if I did attempt it, and it wouldn't work anyway. I crashed I think twice trying to do that, so yeah. Reith has been sort of how would I say it, so he's been homing in his skills basically with what he's learned just by flying with Cessna. We flew I think we did fly another small plane after this. We did do a short flight in the Beach King Air 350. It was I don't think we even took off.
And we did do a short flight in the Mooney Bravo, I think, and that's one of the other default planes. This isn't. This is a Coronado plane. And any of you who have watched my previous FSX videos will know I absolutely love Coronado planes. They are possibly my favourite plane supplier. I do like PMDGs, but they're far too expensive for perhaps what they are. Coronados are fairly cheap. You can pick them up for about 15 or 20 quid, and they're extremely detailed, and pretty much every single button works, and it's very good for this online.
I mean, there are a few buttons that don't work, like I'm going to just say this side panel here.
Yes.
None of those buttons are actually, they're probably real to the actual plane, but
they will be.
In this situation, none of them can actually be pressed.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you can't actually see my mouse cursor, but you definitely cannot.
Also, Reith, if you fancy coming into the cockpit, this is a kind of
not the cockpit. You mean
the cabin even.
There is, if I turn around,
you can do things like
cabin. So I can open and close
black
the doors
out the
like
windows. You can open up the desks.
Yeah.
You'll notice I actually have the back door open as well.
At the moment, I do appear to see the back door open. Yes.
Or the rear of the plane. If I just press Shift and E, I close it as well, like so.
So I'm just watching that.
So yeah, they're very nice. They're just really nicely modelled planes, and they bring an extra element into Flight Simulator. Anyway, we're actually going to start off with how to properly start up the plane.
Yeah. I've been assuming I've been doing this right all the time I've been doing it, but Hamish's been looking into it, and
we've been doing it slightly wrong. We've been pretty much doing the right things, but there's a couple of things we need to sort of polish up.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna get one thing straight from out here. The yoke on my side, the captain's side, it is detachable. That's why it isn't there, because all the startup controls, I've been informed, are, like in the Cessna we flew in the previous videos, they're all behind the yoke. So
yeah, precisely.
Wait,
I just turned it off.
Yeah, that can all be removed. And there is also landing gear in this plane, which is another thing that wasn't in the Cessna. But most of the other controls, apart from the GPS, which you can see in the middle here, are the same. So we've got the
only difference is there's a few more
indicator, speed
digital
and
items.
Yeah, but they do the same thing.
Yes,
so
they do exactly the same
we've
thing.
got the course
We've got an FMC
indicator and stuff. What's FMC?
The flight management computer. So you'll see there's two of them. There's a Garmin and there is a map. The top one
is that the
map.
sat nav, the
Yes.
GPS I was
Now we're not
talking
going to be using those today, but we will use those later on. So the Garmin is at the bottom, which is how you input your waypoints. The map is the top one, and that is how you follow the waypoints.
Right,
It's
okay,
fairly
well,
self-explanatory.
I have to say I've never used the GPS, so that doesn't actually make
So
any
yeah,
sense
that
to
will
me,
be coming in when we
that will
sort of
be a
think
later
about
video, I
flying
guess.
commercial planes. The only other thing you won't be familiar is there's a dial with green and yellow arrows. You will notice.
Green and yellow.
It's on your side, Reith. It's just
the one, the
underneath airspeed.
ADF we were talking about. Yes.
So the ADF, what it is, it's basically for flying with the FMC.
Flying with the flight management, so flying with the GPS thing.
Yes, the GPS.
So that's connected with the GPS somehow.
Yeah, precisely.
But we're not using the GPS.
No, we're not going to be using
so
that
that
today.
doesn't matter.
But otherwise, yeah, pretty much everything is exactly the same. You could probably start this up from just flying with Cessnas. Me and Reith were able to.
Yeah. So I mean, we did have a couple of problems when oh, Hamish, you've opened up the tabs of death.
What? Over Windows.
No, the tabs that we had big problems with. Is that meant to happen, or
What?
you know, the tabs with the flicky
Oh yes,
cats?
yes. No, that's fine. We're going to leave those open. I did that on purpose.
Okay, good, because we flicked those when we first got into
I found out
this,
that they had nothing to do with emergencies or anything.
Right, it's just that a lot of stuff over on this side is to do with emergencies.
Yes,
so
exactly,
you've got the ELT, which apparently it's something to do with search and rescue. You flick that, and if you were to crash somewhere,
It sends out a satellite beacon, and it means they can find you.
Exactly.
A lot of planes don't. I say a lot of planes don't have it. Planes like your Cessnas and your small GA planes generally don't have it. This is actually probably classed as a medium to large GA. I'd class
What's
this
a GA?
General aviation.
General aviation.
So this is a large GA plane, but we only have a medium parking ramp in Shoreham, so that's why we are. But yes, we are in Shoreham
Okay,
again.
well, if that helps our viewers, then good for you. But that doesn't really make any sense to me.
Well, basically, there's different. You have a small GA, a medium GA, and a large GA for different sizes of airplanes. So a Cessna is a small. Then you have, the Mooney Bravo or the Beach King Air. That would have been a medium. This is a large because it's slightly larger.
Am I right in saying this is twin prop engine?
Yes, this is a twin prop.
Two propellers. So
two propellers, precisely. Very much like the Majestic Q400, which we will be learning.
Hamish has been talking about the Majestic Q400 for ages. I've never really seen it, so I don't really know much about it. But it's one of Hamish's favourite sort of big planes.
I love it.
So.
I was actually going to, well, I am still planning on doing like a fully loaded video on the channel where it is me it's pretty much going into as much detail and stuff as possible, where I will be using ATC and all that sort of gubbins, but as in an actual flight.
ATC, that's air traffic control.
Again, I'll be covering that with Reith as well, because there's actually an ATC side on FSX, which I never knew about until the other day.
An ATC side.
So before we start up, Reith, we're going to actually look at this sheet of paper you can hear.
Sheet of paper that you can hear, and probably with the magic of editing, see on the screen now.
Hopefully, if I
remember to put it in. Yeah.
If not, you're just going to have to listen.
It has worked.
You will be able to get this. This is actually using Navigraph. Some of you may know me, and we've always used Navigraph. It's a fairly cheap subscription, which you pay a one-time subscription fee. And you get pretty much every single airport chart ever for any airport, so it's extremely.
Is that I've only got the ones for the UK. Is that? For
you should have all of them.
Oh,
you notice at the top it begins with Bravo. At the top, it should begin with Bravo.
Okay.
I don't know what airspace that is, but that is definitely not the UK, because the whole of UK's airports always start with E. And a lot of Europe as well.
Fair enough.
But anyway, this chart looks very confusing, I'm sure. Now this is Gatwick, this is your typical ILS chart. It's fairly easy. I'm actually going to come over to Reith and actually point out certain features and stuff on his charts, because it's going to make it much easier for Reith to be able to visualise it, and hopefully you guys to understand it.
Hopefully.
On the computer or YouTube.
Okay,
just
so when you can't, just warning to you, Hamish, you can't say this, that, you see this thingy here, because the viewers cannot see this thingy that you're pointing to.
I'm just going to show you on the computer. So you've got some fairly basic details at the top. It tells you the radio frequencies, the different frequencies you're going to need.
And what are they?
Gatwick Direct is what the first one.
Yes, but what does that mean? Gatwick Direct.
It means this will connect you directly to Gatwick sort of air traffic control. Now then you have more specific frequencies like their ground, which would control taxiing and stuff, and their tower, which would control their airspace.
So if you're asking to land or take off,
you would
go to contact their tower.
Yes, precisely.
But if you were asking to taxi onto a runway, you contact their ground.
Precisely.
Or taxi off a runway, I guess.
Yeah, of course you have your ATIS as well. And
which we've covered in previous videos.
Yes.
What's DLV, Hamish?
So I'm not 100% sure, because I haven't ever came across this. So I was looking at the chart and I thought that was a little bit odd. Anyway, I suspect that is your approach frequency. So when you're approaching Gatwick, you are going to be contacting 21.95.
So you wouldn't call their tower for that?
No, their tower is more to do with their airspace and stuff. I mean, a lot of this stuff can be quite confusing for pilots, because we don't necessarily know what frequencies. I mean, look, there's 2 different tower frequencies and there's 3 different direct frequencies.
I guess.
So ATC actually tell you. You tune into their ground.
When you say ATC, that means air traffic control.
Yes. I'm not going to say air traffic control every time.
Okay.
So you always start at their ground. They will only ever have one ground, because one person, one group of people should be able to control the whole airport, because they can't have 2 planes taxiing at exactly the same time for the same runway. So it means that there is an order on what planes taxi. It's kind of stuff we've covered in Shoreham a little bit. So you'll start off with their ground, then ground will tell you which frequency to contact. Let's say contact tower on 124.225.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're actually going to go on to the charts now. So at the top you've got your position in the globe. I'm sure if you've done geography you will understand that. So you've got little lines on the edge and the top.
It says ILS DME, and just underneath Gatwick Direct it says ILS/DME 10.9 IGG.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That is the specific frequency for runway 08.
Right. Okay.
Reith isn't going to actually put this, but if we were to go to 26, you can see it's a different frequency, and that's coming from the other side. Is it?
It's not.
No, it isn't the same frequency. It's exactly the same runway. It's just in a different location. Okay, I apologise. So yes.
Yeah, so ignore what Hamish just said about that, because you're not actually going to see it on the screen.
Unless there's multiple runways, and Gatwick actually only has 2 runways with ILSs. It has more than 2 runways, but 2 runways with ILSs, because it's an international main airport for the UK.
Well, Heathrow is probably...
Heathrow's the biggest airport, then Gatwick.
Actually, Heathrow is one of the biggest airports in the world.
17 million passengers fly in and out of Heathrow each year, which is pretty incredible thinking about the whole of the UK actually literally fly out of Heathrow each year. But there you go.
Going to fly out of Heathrow soon, go to America?
Precisely.
In IRL, not
and in real life, not in Flight Simulator.
Although we might do that.
We can recreate the flight.
We could well do our flight. We can find out what plane we're going to be flying on.
Precisely. So all this looks extremely confusing. I'm not going to go too much into these bits here, like Willow.
Willow 4000.
Yeah. Delta 11 mid, all those kind of things.
Where's Delta 11 mid?
This piece here, Reith.
Oh, when you said by Delta, you mean?
Sorry.
Yeah, but he's just doing what do you call it?
Like the military language,
military
basically.
Alphabet.
Or the phonetical alphabet, I suppose, rather than military. That is more for flight planning purposes. Today we're focusing on ILS, which is pretty much this stretch here, from this piece here to here.
Right, okay. When Hamish says this piece here, he means from where it says bearing 79 degrees to where there's like sort of triangle symbols on the map.
Precisely.
That's what he means by
that's what I mean. Yeah. So I should explain that when I do it. So here it gives you a very important piece of information. Here is where it says DME required. That means you have to have a DME to be able to land via ILS. Otherwise, there's no point you looking at charts. Most Cessna planes can't land ILS. They do have a DME. Yes.
So how is that? How can't they land ILS? Why can't they land ILS?
They just don't have the complicated autopilot systems to enable them to do that. So ILS isn't just lining up with a runway. It's actually to do with your altitude as well. So the sort of kind of greyed out triangle you can see here.
The greyed out triangle next to the zero, the bearing 79 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is actually your glide slope. So here it tells you that your ILS DME is 10.9.
That's what you put into.
That's what you put into your
where
nav.
we put our frequencies when we were doing the what's it called, VOR flying.
Yes, it's exactly the same.
That's where you put that, and that's what we're going to do.
An ILS is basically a VOR for landing. It's exactly what it is.
So what obviously we're going to show you what we do, but from what I know, you put these frequencies that it tells you on the charts into where we've put our VOR frequencies and our DME
and it works exactly the same way.
And it works the same way, except it lines you up automatically and stuff.
However, there's another really cool feature of ILSs, but I'm not going to tell you that until we're actually in the plane, because you'll probably be quite surprised about that. Here, now this is actually where your descent starts, where it says D4 IGG.
And sorry.
No, it isn't. No, I apologise. Your descent starts here.
Where's here?
At the beginning of the glide slope.
Yeah.
Now, you can see by looking at these sort of various waypoints, it says altitude 3000, altitude 4000. Now, we don't really need to worry about the 4000 altitudes.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean.
So, if you were to do an approach using computers or VOR or headings, it doesn't really matter. ATC are likely to direct you in. They're going to vector you into the airport. Vector meaning that they tell you at each point what heading to go to get to this point here where you can begin your ILS approach.
So if you were coming in from a bearing of 285, which is this arrow here,
actually
they would tell you that at the point where it says at 3000, that's when you need to be at 30,000 feet. 3,000, not 30, sorry. 3,000.
So have a look at this waypoint here, Astra. Okay,
so that is near the bottom of
Delta 12 Seaford.
Yes.
SFD, because as I'm sure SFD is just here, 117.00.
Oh my god.
So it looks really confusing.
It is.
Now this is where ideally you want your flight management computer or your FMC or your CDU. It has many names. And
I don't know what any of those names mean. So
flight management computers where you plug in waypoints and you plug in basically what it says here. So
right, well we're not doing that on this episode.
Let's say we're at Seaford, Shoreham, which is around the Holly waypoint, yes?
If you say I don't know.
Well, roughly, it's on the coast, isn't it?
Oh, is this an actual
Yeah, this is a map, so you can see.
Map.
So yeah, this is an actual map of the airport. You can see the River Thames here. A London City airport would be around here.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, let's say you were at Seaford. Now, I'm going to explain this very briefly. You can go two directions. They will send you on a Romeo 303, which is this piece here. If you are to have a holding point, you can see here that you stay at 4,000 feet and you just go round. This is to try and keep traffic calm around the airport. So to get your slot, basically, you'll see there's various holding points.
So you do the holding points are the little ovals.
The little ovals, precisely.
And you just go round and round and round until you get your slot landing at the runway.
Precisely. And there's 4 here. So there's one on the right. There's one sort of middle right. There's 2 very close together.
Yeah, near Seaford, where it says Seaford. Okay.
Now, ATC can easily vector you because you know you're going to be on a heading of 123, and you know you're on a heading of 123 and then 303, so they can kind of just vector you round and round and round and round. There isn't a specific length you have to be. It doesn't have to be 10 nautical miles. It doesn't have to be 5 nautical miles. ATC will tell you depending on how many aircrafts there are.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so if you're going to take Romeo 303, it means they're going to put you into a holding pattern, is actually what we call it, rather than a holding point. I shouldn't have said that. It's a holding pattern because you repeat usually.
Right.
If they send you on Romeo 332, as you can see from Seaford, it means they're going to take you in direct.
On a bearing of 332?
Yes. So they're going to take you on a bearing of 332. Then at this point here, and normally...
Not this point here being along the black line from Seaford, you go along bearing a heading of 332.
Yeah.
And then up to a bearing, and then you do a turn.
Left turn.
A left turn.
To 227.
To 227.
Precisely. Then you get to Romeo 039, roughly.
039?
No, sorry. Romeo 096. Yeah, we got there eventually. And that is when you start at Romeo 096. That's when you start your heading of 079 towards your glide slope. And
how do you know when you're there?
Now, the reason you need a DME is because you pretty much always have a flight management computer, or ATC will actually vector you in. So that is ATC know. You as a pilot don't need to know that really where you are exactly.
So ATC, air traffic control, will tell you now put your heading onto
precisely
079, which is the heading for the runway.
Yes, exactly. Now on a lot of airports, it doesn't actually seem to have it on this one. Actually, it does sort of. You can see here. For 7 nautical miles.
Okay, by here, Hamish...
Yes, I know. I should explain
every
this.
time, Hamish means at the right...
On the right side.
On the right side, next to the most right holding pattern, that just sort of goes off the chart a bit, it says 7, in like a sort of little arrowhead.
Yes. And you're on a heading of 309.
Right, okay.
Now, 7 means you've got 7 nautical miles. It's
7 nautical miles till what?
Till you get to this point here.
Oh, so once you pass 7...
Now this point here is called Mayfield. You're probably aware of it. Mayfield is actually a VOR point.
Yes.
A VOR DME point.
We've been there before, right?
We have been there.
It might have been in one of our videos.
We did a circuit.
Something.
So we actually started roughly where it says Astra, and then we went to Seaford, SFD, then we went to Mayfield.
MAY.
Yep. And then we went back down to roughly Astra, which is Shoreham.
And roughly Astra, by that Hamish means where Shoreham is, which is where we are right now.
Yes,
although you can't see that on the screen because obviously it's being
this is an ILS chart. However, from that you haven't really got that much information. You know what altitude you need to be at, and with a little bit of sort of looking at the chart, you know what headings you need to be on. It's really not that complicated. Now, the people struggle with is the second piece, which is your
below the map.
Your numbers. This is a bit pilots actually need to know and are interested in. We don't really care too much about what heading ATC are going to tell us to do, because they're going to tell us to do it.
So you don't need to know that. All you need to do is listen.
It's good to know. It is good to know that as a backup, though. I would highly recommend reading this thoroughly, so you know your area basically. because from this we can get quite a lot of information about what we need to know. We know that there's 4 holding points, so there's 4 possible places holding patterns. Sorry, yeah, where we can possibly go. We know that if we set a VOR to Mayfield, we know that we need to be on a heading of 277. So we know as a backup when we get to
how do we know we need to be on 277?
Well, it doesn't matter what. You can see here.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah?
If you're 277 to go into the airport.
Precisely.
Oh, I see. Right.
So it doesn't matter what direction you're going to come from, provided you get to Mayfield and go on a heading of 277. You know you're going on the right way towards the runway.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then you know what an extra few nautical miles time, which should say somewhere here. No, I say here. It's not there. It says. Oh, I'm trying to find it now.
Find what?
Oh, well, so most maps, this one seemingly doesn't, has a little chart. That's strange.
What kind of chart?
It just shows you where each nautical mile is. So
what you mean a scale?
A scale, yeah.
Yes, that's normally what you find on maps. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, this one doesn't have it, which I find extremely strange.
There's probably a scale somewhere.
There must be a scale somewhere. You can work it out, which is extremely strange.
There is a circle around the centre of the runway, and it says 10 nautical miles on it.
Yes. So
I don't know if it counts as the scale here.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, but that just shows you a 10-mile radius. Anyway, it's very strange. They almost always, if you look at other airport maps, on the bottom right-hand side of the graphical side, you will see a little scale, normally up to 15 nautical miles. It'll go 5, 10, 15 nautical miles as a standard.
Except this one, for some reason.
For whatever reason, this one doesn't, which is very strange. Anyway, like I said, here is where you... this corresponds to here, to the map.
Okay.
So here is being your ILS glide slope. You can see that there's a 3-degree
and
slope.
this is the picture of the runway glide slope.
Yes.
Which is underneath the map itself, but above the sort of table.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. This is what he's talking about when he says here and there and whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so you can say
why you should have stayed at your computer so you can.
Delta 8.6.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. D8.6.
So it's an IgG. I'm not 100% sure what an IgG stands for.
But what does it mean? Like, you say IgG. What does that mean to you?
And you get IgGs when you're coming towards an airport.
How come? Why would that be useful?
It's talking about your glide slope. It basically means that this is part of the glide slope. So if you look anywhere else, you won't see any sort of things with IgG or whatever. Have you noticed here, D16.9 Willow? It doesn't have IgG because there's no glide slope here. The closer you get to the airport or at the beginning of your ILS DME, you have this, which is IgG, which is like it's a frequent. It basically means a glide slope. I'm not 100% sure.
Right,
it's just it's not a guess, but it means you're coming up to the glide slope for the airport, and you're coming into.
Oh, so that's the name of the glide slope.
You pretty much, yeah.
So
it doesn't
Delta
say G-S.
So Delta 8.6
Yes.
IgG is the name of the glide slope.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So if you wanted to talk about Gatwick's glide slope for runway 8, is it runway 8?
Yeah.
Runway 8.
8 right to be precise.
8 right.
Because there's 2 runways on that heading.
Which are side next to each other.
Yeah,
parallel.
precisely.
Okay. So if you're talking about Gatwick's glide slope for runway 08 right, which is the name of the runway, you would say that glide slope is called Delta 86 IgG.
Yes, precisely.
Okay.
So I've now moved.
That was a long explanation about the name of a glide slope.
Yes. So
Jesus.
I've now back my computer. Hopefully it means
Yeah.
I can explain it a little bit better.
It's because he has to explain it to me first. I have to understand it rather than pointing at the screen and saying that and this, which means I understand it, but obviously you guys at home don't know what part of the map on your screen we're talking about.
So you can see Delta 8.6.
Yes.
Now you can see that actually corresponds to Delta 8.6, which we just saw
On the map itself.
Yeah? So that is exact point, but it's a vertical, not a vertical, it's a horizontal view of the map rather than a vertical, which we're currently seeing. And you'll notice you've got Delta 4, and if you look at the bottom, it also says Delta 4, and you've got Delta 1.
What is Delta 4?
So, Delta 4 is it's telling you what altitude you should be at coming into land.
What, so like 8.6 thousand?
Yes.
4,000.
400 actually. 400.
So that's 8. So that 8.6. That's 860 feet.
No. Okay, right. Sorry.
What?
So it's where you should be at your approach into the ILS. It's quite complicated to explain all this. Let's put it this way, it's going to make a lot more sense if you look at the bottom right hand side of your chart where it says DME IGG.
Right, okay.
Okay, now it has 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 and 2, yes?
Yeah.
Now you'll notice 4 is 1520 feet. You'll notice D4, so the 4 standing out there is 1520, yeah?
Okay, so your altitude at D4
Yes.
is 1520.
Yes, precisely.
Oh, is D a shortened version of DME? Because it says here DME IGG.
Yes. I think you're probably right, Reith.
4.
I never actually realised that until then. But yes, you're probably
Because
right.
it's all corresponding. So 4 here and D4 on the runway glide slope.
Yeah.
So at D4 on the runway glide slope, so when you're 4 nautical miles out,
Yeah.
which your DME tells you, which we've been through in previous videos, you need to be at an altitude of 1,520 feet.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, got it.
Now, as pilots, we don't really need to know what Delta 4, Delta 1, Delta 8.6 means. We just need to know what altitude we should be at those points. So at Delta 8.6, we should be at 3,000 feet, as it shows where it says C chart. Yes?
C chart.
So on the horizontal view of ILS, at the beginning it says 3,000. On the left hand side where it says C chart.
Yeah, 3,000.
Yeah?
Oh, I see. So that means 3,000.
On a heading of 079.
Okay.
And it shows you that at that point, that's where you begin your glide slope downwards. Now your glide slope can be controlled manually, but also it can be controlled automatically, which is what I will be showing you when we actually come to doing this.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about any of these numbers.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It should be controlled all automatically.
Yeah.
All automatically.
But just in case, if you have the feeling that you really want to follow all of this stuff because you got someone right on your tail, air traffic control looking at you, and you want to control it all manually, this is what you should be doing.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Now, so yeah, we've kind of looked at the horizontal chart, and it gives you a point. 570 is your minimums.
Why? What's this?
So remember I talked to you about if you can't see the runway or whatever, you should abort coming into land. And you should do a go around. That is D1.
D1.
Which you can see it's sort of at the end. It's
D1
ILS 570.
Yeah, so
that's where you would abort and carry on. You'd go up to 3,000 feet and do a go around.
So at D4 where it says ILS 1520.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So that's just giving you a reference of where you should be at that point. So it kind of gives you 3 reference points. It gives you where you start, roughly in the middle of your ILS.
Yeah, halfway between
If you
sort
think
of
about
8 and 1.
Yeah,
4.
I mean, what it is, you'll notice there is a nautical mile scale. So you'll notice that Delta 8.6 starts at 9 nautical miles. You'll be able to see on the scale. It's about 8.5 nautical miles. Should be able to see on your scale, Reith. Just at the bottom of the map, just at the bottom of the horizontal map, there's a scale from 15 to 0 in nautical miles. I come and show you if you can't spot it. It's just there.
Oh, I see. Right. So at the bottom. Sorry, you were saying at the bottom of the map.
Yeah.
You mean at the bottom of the
That chart.
Of the at the bottom of the horizontal runway that we're looking at, above the tables and stuff. There's a chart.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
So you'll notice that it's roughly 8 nautical miles. Then it's roughly 4 nautical miles and 1 nautical miles. So
it's exactly 8.6 nautical miles.
Exactly.
Which is why it's D 8.6.
Yeah, precisely. And then so that's what the individual ones or whatever stand for. And then you see the DME IGG is also exactly so at 8 nautical miles you should be at 2,000 feet, 7, 2,400, 8, 2,480, etc., etc., all the way down to 2 where you should be at 880. Then Delta 1 is where you should be at 570. Precisely. You're getting.
So what was that about? If you can't see the runway, then.
So at 570 feet to go. If you can't see the runway, you do a go around.
And how do you know that you have to be at 570 feet if you can't see the runway?
Well, because it says that's what Airbus Delta 1. So the last sort of ILS point is where you do your go around. You also notice there's a little arrow going upwards again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A little dotted line arrow.
Yes,
yeah.
Precisely. And it going up, saying that's what you do if you were to having a abort landing.
If you're aborting landing.
And of course, you know you're at 570 feet because you've got your aircraft instruments to
it tells you your altitude on your instruments.
Precisely. The second part of the chart, where it says Cat 3, Cat 3A, Cat 3B, Cat 2, that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you actually need to find out what category your aircraft is in. I'm not actually sure what category this aircraft is in.
Well, that's very useful.
That is extremely useful. It tells you that we're using EU Ops, that's European Operations.
Yeah.
It's in bold.
Is this the aircraft or the
both,
the airport?
Both. So ACFT stands for aircraft.
Right.
But it corresponds to the airport. Any airports in Europe will use EU Ops anyway. So it's saying all types of aircraft can land at this airport because it says all underneath aircraft, yes?
Right, okay. So where it says ACFT,
yeah,
and it says EU Ops on the side, right at the bottom it says all.
Yeah, precisely.
Right, okay, and that means all aircraft
all,
can land.
All aircraft. Some airports like Shoreham, for example.
You're not going to land a
You're
Boeing
not going to land a Boeing,
runway.
precisely.
I mean, we can just about take this plane off.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to. Sometimes I have to take off early before Hamish says to roll the wheel.
Yeah.
To lift
rotate.
Up. To rotate. Yeah, that's it. Because we're going to run off the end of the runway, so I shall obviously show you my magic flying skills.
So it also talks about your glide slope here. Now the GS, that stands for ground speed rather than glide slope.
Oh yeah, GS, where it says 80, 100, 120, 140, 160.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
It's corresponding to your speed. Oh, hang on. No, I don't think it is. No, it's corresponding to your speed at where you... Now, okay, this is quite confusing. So, saying you have a category, I don't know, 2 aircraft. Can you see? Mm-hmm. It says RA96 300 metres, yes?
Yeah.
Now, this corresponds to this. I don't know why category 2 is obviously the most common type of aircraft. So, it's saying At 850 feet, if you look at 160, at 850 feet, you should be going 160.
I'm not sure what we're looking at here.
So if you look at where it says GS ROD, at the bottom,
Yeah.
So it kind of corresponds to your altitude and speed in a Category 2 aircraft. Now, a Category 2 aircraft to me sounds like it's probably something similar to our plane.
Okay.
Just by looking at it. So it kind of gives a pilot a mental vision on what it's going to be like, rather than necessarily an exact vision, because all airplanes are different. But if you stick to a certain type of plane, like a Beach King F350, which is pretty much what this is, that is, you know, that's pretty much.
So the default plane's an FSX. This is like.
This is kind of like that. It's a level up from the Cessna, basically, and it gives the pilot a visual state of what it could be like. If it tells the pilot how long the runway is going to be, for example.
Okay.
That's pretty much ILS. It's very confusing.
I have to say, this is all very confusing to me. Hopefully, the autopilot or the ILS
will
that we're going to learn now should do this all automatically.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. Apart from the exact sort of holding patterns and stuff.
This will make a lot more sense. So when we start to get into actual
air traffic control
and flight management.
But obviously we haven't done that yet.
And stuff. Because there is also a SID and a STAR. Again, I'll explain to you about at a later point. Then this will start to make a lot more sense. But I don't want to go too much into detail. Otherwise this video will go on for literally 3 hours of me
talking. It has already
about
been, guess how long it's been?
About 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, 41.3.
Yeah. So it's an extremely long process. There's other people who can explain it much better than I can on YouTube. So, you know, if you guys don't understand, if you guys don't understand, you can. I advise that you go and watch their videos because they can explain it much better. They also have a screen on where they actually show you what they're looking at on the chart, which also helps quite a lot.
Yeah.
Woo.
Right.